So you made it to the second section. Obviously, you know how you did on the first one. Don't judge by that one though, because that's probably the easiest chapter you will see so far. This next section that we'll cover will be 18.1 and 18.12. These are macromolecules in water. Again, this is stuff that you probably have covered before. Most of it should be a review as well as the introduction of some new things. This unit will be longer. The dates I have not posted as on this PowerPoint yet because of the fact that it's summer and I don't know what we're going to be doing by then. But we will begin. So first off, you're probably going to notice that there's quite a few more vocabulary words than you had in the first one. These will all be on one test. Shouldn't be that bad. You need to start studying now. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't forget that you have to make note cards. Those can be done online or on paper, as well as turning in a list with the words defined on them as well. Your words this time are polarity, pH, acid, base, enzyme, catalyst, product, reactant, carbohydrate, lipid, protein, amino acid, solvent, solute, adhesion, cohesion, nucleic acid, substrate, activation, energy, and buffer. The first part of this chapter that we will actually cover will be elements and macromolecules. I'm not going to go that in depth into elements because I'm hoping that you've had that before. If you haven't, there are plenty of videos on YouTube as well as I can help you where needed. If you're in biotech, we will cover those in more depth, but it's not going to be on the EOC, therefore I'm not going to spend much time going over it in this class. There are four main elements that actually make up 95% of all living things, including us. We are living. Those are your carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. These are pretty easy to remember. Carbon, you automatically should know that it is number 6. It has an atomic number of number 6. That means it's number 6 on the periodic table. Has an atomic mass of 12.01 and it's represented by the letter C. That would be your keynote there. Hydrogen, represented by the letter H. Atomic number 1, first thing you're going to see on the periodic table, has an atomic mass of 1. That means it weighs 1. 1 AMU, you don't really need to get into that. So then we have oxygen, it's represented by the letter O, its atomic number is 8 and the atomic mass is 16. And then we have nitrogen, which is N, the atomic number is 7 and the atomic mass is 14. These are 4 things that you should have memorized, very easy. You're going to use those the rest of your life. You already know H2O, water, CO2, carbon dioxide, NO2, nitrous oxide, you know, that laughing gas that you like at the dentist, yeah, that's what that is. These are just basic ones. Definitely should remember those. So what is a macromolecule? Well, macro, we all know means large. You did that on your root word wall that's posted in the classroom. And so a macromolecule, therefore, is a large organic molecule. Pretty easy. So whether you know it or not, you've actually heard of macromolecules throughout your whole life. Definitely might not have known, wow, that's a macromolecule, but now you do. So what are they? They are your carbs, your nucleic acids, your proteins, and your lipids. Some examples of these, obviously, carbs. Hello. We all know what that is. That's your breads, your pastas. Proteins, you can see in the picture, that's your fish, your meats. You can take protein powders, whatever. Nucleic acid is actually something that's not going to be a direct food source. They're found in your food. Why are they found in your food? Because it's what actually makes up DNA. DNA and RNA. So therefore it's found in everything, but you don't have a direct example like you would with a carb and protein. The next one's your lipids. Lipids might be a new word, shouldn't really be, but you know that's going to be your fats. Fats and oils and everything like that. So I told you before that you're going to need to know what each one of those elements letters actually stood for, because I'm not going to sit here and write them all out for you every single time. So what are the macromolecules actually made up of? Well, your carbs and lipids are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, CH and O. Your proteins are made up of CHO and N, and your nucleic acids are made up of CHO and P. Your body also needs trace amounts of sulfur, which is represented by the letter S. Potassium, this one will kind of throw you off, but it's represented by the letter K. And calcium, which is represented by the letter CA. Please note that CA is not in all caps. The first letter is a capital letter, and the second letter is lowercase. If you write those as both lowercase or both caps, you will be wrong. I'm sorry. Here's a picture of a squirrel and a carrot. They're divided up exactly as to what percentage each one consists of. Therefore, you can see in the squirrel that the largest part is oxygen. The squirrel has 65% oxygen. Same goes for the carrot. The larger part, which would be the top part of the carrot in the picture, would be the 65% of oxygen. You're going to need to color this as for the colors that it tells you. Carbon black, oxygen red, phosphorus is pink, potassium's brown, hydrogen's yellow, nitrogen's blue, sulfur is green, and calcium is purple. Please take time to do so. Go ahead and pause the video now so you can take time to color this picture. So here's my pretty completed picture. Not perfect on paint, but it is what your picture should basically look like. Now we get into actually our first macromolecule. The first one that we're going to talk about is going to be your carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are used by the body for energy and structural support in cell walls of plants and exoskeletons of insects and crustaceans. Smaller subunits of carbohydrates are called monosaccharides, which are simple sugars. The ratio that you will find your carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in that order will be a 1 to 2 to 1. Therefore, your formula might be CH2O, or it might be C2H4O2, as long as you break it down into a 1 to 2 to 1. When you have two monosaccharides, you're going to end up making what is called a polysaccharide, or a disaccharide. Di meaning two monosaccharides. And then if you have multiple disaccharides, you end up making a polysaccharide. Poly means many, pretty obvious. Your carbohydrates include your glucose, galactose, and fructose. Galactose is something that's found in milk. Fructose is something that is found in sugar. And then glucose is pretty much found in sugar and everything else. Below in your packet, you're now going to draw out galactose and fructose. They will be posted on the next slide. These are pictures of galactose and fructose that you're drawing right now. I want you to note the difference between the two. They're both just copies of glucose. There's just something a little bit different between them. If you will notice, in galactose, the carbons are numbered. There's 6 carbons. There's also 6 carbons found in fructose. If you notice at number 5, at number 4, the O and the OH are switched. This is called an RNS structure. One's an R version and one's an S version. That's not something you need to know until you get into organic chemistry. But if you are headed in that route, that's what you need to look for. There's also a switch between number 3, and if you notice, there's a few other changes as well. Proteins to me are probably one of the coolest ones that you actually get to learn about. Might not think so now, I definitely didn't when I was your age. But as I got into biochem for med students, you start to realize that, wow, these are involved in everything that you're going to do. So what are the subunits that actually make up proteins? They're called amino acids. Amino acids are used to build cells and do much of the work inside organisms. They act as enzymes, helping to control metabolic reactions in organisms. Amino acids contain 2 functional groups. They have a carboxyl group and then an amino group. Your carboxyl group is actually represented by COOH. It's not CO2H, it's COOH. Then your amino acid is your NH2. It also has an R group, if you notice, down at the bottom, and that is known as the side chain. You're going to need to draw this structure. There are 20 different amino acids that you will learn about through your career in science. Valine, leucine, isoleucine, the list just goes on and on. Tryptophan. If you get into biochem for med students, you will have to memorize every single one of them and their structure completely from beginning to end and how they connect and their different numbers and everything else. Have fun if you do go that route. An enzyme is a protein molecule that acts as a biological catalyst. It must physically fit a specific substrate to work properly. It's got to fit in like a puzzle. If it doesn't fit, it's not going to work. It has an active site, which is a place where a substrate fits an enzyme to be catalyzed. The catalyst speeds up the rate of the reaction by lowering the activation energy. When we have excess heat, a change in pH from neutral, etc., changes the shape of the enzymes and their active site, so the enzyme is unable to work. Enzymes are usually going to end in the last 3 letters of ASE. So if you happen to see a word that it says which of the following is an enzyme and it gives you the option of ASE as the last 3 letters of a word, that would be the one I would pick. As you can tell, YouTube has a stupid 15-minute rule, therefore I have to stop the video now and start part 2. Make sure you do continue and get through part 2. Click on the next link.